So there are easier ways for a 6'6" defenseman to score in overtime. Most of them don't look this smooth. November 30th, 2018, Denver, Colorado. This is Blue 17, Colton Parayko. And he's going to take one hand off his stick, turn his reach into a weapon, and end a game that the Blues badly needed to win. Not because his victory will save their season. It won't, not yet. But for one night, Parayko is going to show us exactly what makes him different. 7 months earlier, Colorado beat the Blues here on the final night of the season, grabbed the last playoff spot, and sent St. Louis home. Now the Blues are back at Pepsi Center, and somehow they're in even worse shape. They're 8-12-3. Coach Mike Yeo was fired 11 days prior, and interim coach Craig Berube, he's 1-3. A roster built to contend. They've already lost 2 straight, and they look less like a sleeping giant, more like a bunch of expensive parts scattered across the floor. Colorado is 15-6-4. That's a real contender. The Avalanche, they won 6 in a row, and they've earned a point in 8 consecutive games. Their top line is running wild. One team's rolling, and the other's trying to remember what it's supposed to be. If you were watching the Blues at this point, what did you see? Did you see a contender having a rotten start? Or did you think the team was just broken? Colton Parayko was born May 12, 1993 in St. Albert, Alberta. His route to the NHL wasn't remotely normal. He wasn't drafted into major junior hockey. He wasn't even invited to Fort McMurray's main training camp. Parayko paid $60 to attend an open tryout with roughly 70 other hopefuls, and he barely made the Oil Barons as their final defenseman. And that's the origin story. He wasn't a blue chip prospect, just a late bloomer who grew 6 more inches and kept forcing people to reconsider him. His first year in the Alberta Junior Hockey League didn't get him drafted, but his second did. Parayko put up 42 points in 53 games. St. Louis selected him 86th overall in 2012. Then he went to the University of Alaska Fairbanks. In 3 seasons, he became a massive right-shot defenseman who could skate far better than anybody that his size had a right to. He twice won the WCHA's Defensive Player of the Year award and All-American honors. He later finished his business administration degree as well. He signed with the Blues in March of 2015, played 17 games for the AHL with the Chicago Wolves, and made the NHL roster that fall. As a rookie, he produced 33 points in 79 games and led all NHL rookies at plus 28. He made the all-rookie team and helped St. Louis reach the Western Conference Final. He played for Team North America at the 2016 World Cup, and in 2017, he won silver with Canada at the World Championship and made the tournament all-star team. That summer, the Blues rewarded him with a 5-year contract worth $27.5 million. By this night here, he's 25 and established. But there's still a strange argument around him because Parayko has the body, the wheels, and the slap shot. So why doesn't he take over more often? What do you want from him? Safe, reliable defense every night? Or do you crave a little more recklessness from a man with tools like these? The Blues came out like they understood the assignment. At 4:57 of the first, Joel Edmondson sends the puck ahead. Ivan Barbashev helps it along, and Vladimir Tarasenko beats Semyon Varlamov. Late in the period, Alexander Steen jumps on a Colorado mistake and scores unassisted power play goal. So after 20 minutes, St. Louis leads 2-0. Nikita Zadorov got Colorado on the board 1 minute and 8 seconds into the second. And then the temperature went up. Steen unloaded on Nathan MacKinnon near the Colorado blue line. Eric Johnson retaliated with an elbow just moments later. Everybody piled together near the crease, and Johnson received a major plus a game misconduct. Steen left the game with an upper body injury, and the Blues got 5 minutes of power play time. Didn't do anything with it. They even got a penalty shot later in the period. On that one, Oscar Sundqvist comes in alone. The puck rolls away from him, and the chance up in smoke. St. Louis has every opportunity to bury this game, which means you already know what's coming. At 2:13 of the third, a Samuel Girard shot nearly leaks through Jake Allen. Edmondson tries to clear the puck, and it kicks off Allen's pads. Mikko Rantanen knocks it home on the power play. 2-2. Allen saves the Blues with a lunging stop on Colin Wilson. At the other end, Varlamov denies Zach Sanford and Barbashev in the final 20 seconds. So the Avalanche have erased the lead. Alex Pietrangelo, he's also gone with a hand injury, and overtime feels like a place where St. Louis might be grateful just to steal 1 point. So one-handed hockey play looks like a trick, but they're really about geometry. If you remove the lower hand, you lose strength, but you gain reach. For most players, it's a trade-off. For Parayko, whose arms already seem borrowed from a suspension bridge, it's almost unfair. He can keep his body away from the defender, while his stick reaches into a completely different zip code. At 1:34 of overtime, Edmondson moves the puck to Parayko. He attacks Samuel Girard one-on-one, and hesitates for half a beat, spots the opening. Parayko shifts the stick into his right hand, reaches around Girard, and pokes the puck past Varlamov. And that's it. Blues win 3-2. Parayko finishes with 5 shots, +2 rating, because, of course, he had a +2 rating, and the first overtime goal of his NHL career. Colorado's 6-game winning streak is dead because the biggest man on the ice just beat everybody with finesse. So after the game, Parayko said, "I saw an opening, so I thought I'd take it." That's a very Parayko way to describe a spectacular one-handed overtime game winner, just like he noticed an empty parking space. Tarasenko focused on the response after losing Steen and Pietrangelo. Colorado is hot, Denver's a hard building, and in his words, it's a great win. Greg Berube had no immediate update on either injured player. Jared Bednar called the overtime point important, although he believed Johnson's major should have been a minor. Varlamov had stopped 34 shots and still called it a tough loss. Of course, the coverage centered on the move. Parayko had turned a physical mismatch against the smaller Girard into one of his slickest goals ever. And maybe this is where the Blues finally turn the whole season around, right? Not quite. They go to Arizona the next night and get drilled 6-1. A little more than a month later, they're sitting dead last in the entire league, 30th or 32nd. I don't know, is the Kraken around then? This win isn't the start of their comeback. It's evidence, preserved in amber, that the necessary talent is still in there, somewhere. Then Jordan Binnington arrives, Berube's structure begins to hold, and the scattered pieces finally come together as a team. St. Louis finishes 45-28-9, 99 points, and takes third in the Central Division. Parayko ends the regular season with 10 goals, 28 points in 80 games. Pietrangelo's injury after this game pushes more responsibility onto him, and his eventual pairing with Jay Bouwmeester becomes St. Louis's shutdown unit. In the playoffs, Parayko averages 25 minutes per game and records 12 points. The Blues beat Winnipeg in 6, survive Dallas in 7, eliminate San Jose in 6, then beat Boston in Game 7 to win the first Stanley Cup in franchise history. And yeah, I've said that on about 8 other videos, but it doesn't really get old. Colorado finishes 38-30-14, and they grab the second wildcard spot. They knock off the top-seeded Calgary Flames in 5 before San Jose eliminates them in Game 7 of the second round. So does this game qualify? Does this game qualify as a turning point if the turnaround doesn't actually begin here? Or can a season leave little breadcrumbs before it reveals what it is? So Parayko's never played for another NHL team. He scored 10 goals in the shortened 2019-20 season. But the defending champs went out against Vancouver in the bubble playoffs. A back injury cost him 21 games the following year and limited his skating. In September of 2021, St. Louis committed to him as a franchise defenseman with an 8-year, $52 million contract extension. He returned to 35 points in 21-22 when the Blues reached the second round before losing to the eventual champion Avalanche. His game dipped while his back bothered him, and some Blues fans got onto him. By 23-24, he looked like himself again. He produced a career-high 16 goals and 36 points in only 64 games in 24-25, over a half point per game. Pretty good. A late knee procedure interrupted that season, but he returned for the playoffs and had 6 points in the Blues' 7-game loss to Winnipeg. Internationally, he helped Canada win the 2025 Four Nations Face-Off, then earned an Olympic silver medal in 2026. Briefly, his future in St. Louis became a real question at the trade deadline this past year. Reports said the Blues and the Sabres had assembled a deal, but Parayko declined to waive his no-trade clause, and he stayed in St. Louis. He finished 25-26 with 4 goals and 18 points in 77 games. On the final night of the season, he played his 800th NHL game. Every one of them is coming a Blues sweater. Through that milestone, he has 81 goals, 313 points, plus 38 more points in 89 playoff games. 89 games, that's another full season. So Parayko may never become the loud, snarling monster that his measurements would make people imagine. That's never really been him. He's something that's even rarer. He's a 6'6" lifer who can eat hard minutes, launch a puck over 100 miles per hour, and every so often beat you one-handed. Next up, we're going back to November 27th, 2010 for this way. Warrior 42, Darrell Wright. So before Steph Curry turned every three-point record into temporary property, Wright went into Minnesota and hit 9. He scored 30, set a Warriors single-game record, and helped to snap a 5-game losing streak. So how does Darrell Wright spend 6 quiet years in Miami, arrive in Golden State, and suddenly discover an entirely different version of himself? But we'll get into that next time. This one belonged to Colton Parayko. One enormous reach, one hand on the stick, and one desperately needed win in Denver. So the question, where does that overtime goal rank amongst the best plays of the Blues championship season? And when you look back now, can you see the Cup team hiding inside this mess? This is Blue 17, Colton Parayko, November 30th, 2018. I'm the Wolf, and I'll see you for Warrior 42. Thanks for watching.